Hallo, unsere lieben Freunde und Mithörer, Leser und so. Willkommen zurück zu Super Sehr Gurke Buchclub.
Am Sonntag.
Am Sonntag, einen Tag verspätet,
Zwei.
passt, zwei. Ach ja, stimmt, sonst wäre ja Freitag. So war. Ähm, Wir sind wieder da mit Infinity Reaper von Best Boy Adam Severa.
Yes.
Da musste ich kurz aufstoßen. Ähm, Und wir waren letztes Mal mit Ness und Brighton unterwegs, ne?
Okay. Ja.
Brighton hat jetzt seine Experience gehabt, da die Fähigkeiten zu bekommen, von wegen. Oder hat er noch nicht? Doch, ihm wurde irgendwie heiß oder irgendwie sowas, keine
Ja,
Ahnung.
so ein bisschen war es, aber noch nicht so alles im Leben.
Also er hat noch nichts wirklich Fähigkeitmäßiges gezeigt, glaube
Ja,
ich.
nicht wirklich, glaube ich.
Und Ness durfte sich entscheiden zwischen jahrelanger Folter oder Betrug seines Herzens, I don't know. Aber er hat sich dazu entschlossen, seinem Vater, den Eisentypen, äh, zu helfen, im Sinne von schlechte Propaganda zu machen oder so.
Yes.
Äh, und dann dabei vielleicht einen Ausweg zu finden.
Uh.
Und jetzt geht's weiter mit Kapitel 3, Death's Hold. Epic Name. Mit Marvel. Months ago, I can't remember. 4 months, maybe 5. Ach so, ich lese jetzt. Haben wir das schon gesagt? I don't know.
Ja, also letztes Mal habe ich, glaube ich, das gesagt.
Okay. 4 months, maybe 5. There was a celestial on a street corner advertising her ability to see into the past and future. I'm not normally this desperate, but I was willing to try anything to uncover the truth behind my parents' deaths. Atlas had warned me not get my hopes up. I should have trusted his instincts more. Mama always said I had a tendency to get lost in my foggy mind, and someone clear-headed like Atlas could be good for me. The Celestial and her crystal ball were useless, but all this time later I finally have my answer. June, the spectre with ghost blood, possessed my mother and framed her for the blackout so the country would lose faith in the spellwalkers. Then June possessed me and made me kill Atlas. I needed space from everyone, so I'm up on the skydeck of the Aldebaran Center, legs dangling over the edge, 14 stories high, and the crowned dreamer's starlight prickles my skin one last time before completely fading into the night. It's done. Luna's last shot of becoming immortal. I wouldn't say no to crates of star-touched wine and boxes of blaze cake as a thank you for the miracles Brighton and I worked tonight. I did come away with one gift. The Oblivion Dagger, twirling between my fingers, is beautiful. Not because of its look. Stars no. The rare dagger looks like rotted bone and carries the dark grey stains of all the ghosts that have been slain by it. Most recently, Luna's parents. The dagger is deceptively heavy too. Heavy like the Celestia's crystal ball, which I had hurled across her velvet-decked room once I realized her reading was a hoax. Some side hustle to make money. The Oblivion Dagger is beautiful because it's the weapon I'll be able to use to end June forever. I'm exhausted, beat down, bone tired, sore muscles. The last time I rested was when I collapsed onto Atlas's corpse hours ago in the museum. Immediately after my new powers revealed themselves to me and everyone around me in a ring of fire. But I
No
can't sleep.
Ring of Fire.
Nicht wie diese eine Pinguin aus Madagaskar-Episode.
Ja, doch.
Ja. Äh, but I can't sleep without Atlas tonight. This feeling reminds me of those dark, lonely nights after the blackout, when I forced everyone away, even my then best friend Iris, who was grieving her own parents too. But then Atlas became a light. Some afternoons I needed him to help me out of bed. Other times I was strong enough to do it myself. Right now, the idea of crawling into any bed without him terrifies me. The cold wind blows back my dark hair. I wish Papa was around to braid it for me like he did when I was growing up. But he's not. Death has a hold on me, Alter. She said the same.
Hm.
Taking everyone I love. Ja, ich meine, okay, aber eigentlich
Ja.
sind das nur die, wo es dich juckt, dass die weg sind.
Ja.
Es werden auch Haufen andere weggenommen, ne? Weißt du schon. Aber okay. Mama, Papa, Atlas, Simone, Conrad. Deutsche Namen.
Konrad,
Simone, Konrad.
Atlas, Papa, Mama,
Papa, Mama.
Mutti, Vati.
I didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to be this way. If I had known that the founders of the Spellwalkers were actually my birth parents, I would have understood that my power to glide was only a hint of what I'm capable of after inheriting Bautista de Leon's phoenix abilities. I would have known that the strong instincts that kept me alive in combat were more of a sixth sense, an extension of Sarah Cordova's danger detecting visions. I could have strengthened my powers and kept Mama and Papa at home before they left to try and save the world. Before they set out, set before they set our movement back by years. I could have used my power to keep Atlas alive. While we are waiting to see what the deal is with Emil and if Brighton is coming back with me after so we can track down the Bloodcasters together, I should pick up Atlas's car, which I left a couple blocks away from the Alpha Church of New Life. I don't have a sheet yet for the Oblivion Dagger, and it's too thick to it and it's too thick to fit into my boot, so I conceal it back inside the padded pocket of my power-proof vest. I re-enter the building through a pyramid-shaped door. Okay. And a pair of practitioners watch me cautiously, as if I might blow up the facility the way they believe my mother blew up the conservatory. These practitioners are on the younger side, maybe a few years older than me, so maybe they weren't paying attention 8 years ago when the Spellwalkers helped out a dozen Gleam cares by raising millions for high-tech upgrades. People paid for photo shoots with my parents and Iris's parents, and Iris and I felt like royalty when donors were requesting personal greetings and birthday wishes for the children in their lives. But the most money came from people who wanted to know what it felt like to fly, and not just fly, but fly then beloved spell with then beloved spellwalkers. Why go skydiving when the Luceros could take you flying around your neighborhood for a few minutes? Things weren't perfect then, and they'll never be perfect, but I would kill for those times. I will kill for those times. Wow. I round the corner and someone is sobbing. Prudencia is sitting on the floor, crying into her hands. Emil must be dead. I know he has a good heart, but it only seems fair. If Emil hadn't released June when we finally had a hold on her in the Apollo arena, then Atlas would be alive right now.
How do you know that? How?
Oh. Hey, mit Schicksal wäre eh gestorben oder so, so irgendwas, oder wie das funktionieren kann. Did Emil die? I ask. Prudencia can barely get any words out, and she doesn't bother wiping any tears from her glossy brown eyes. I don't know. The practitioners are working on him already, but Brighton, he's unconscious too, and they have a team trying to save him. From what I understand, Brighton and Amy are the closest people in her life. Prudencia's parents were killed too, and now she is also on the edge of losing everyone she loves. She only got involved in this war because she wanted to see this through with her best friends. Will she stay with the Spellwalkers if they die, or go back to her celestial hating aunt? I don't know. There's still hope, I say. It's true, I don't waste my breath on empty words. Spectres have been known to faint early in their journeys, after consuming elixirs when their powers first surface. Their bodies have to adjust, and the Reaper's blood is a whole other level. I'm sure Brighton will pull through. Brighton isn't supposed to be a spectre, Prudencia says. Well, no one is supposed to be a spectre, myself included, but Emil's ambitions to create the power binding potion Bautista and Sarah were working on before they died feels like an impossible task. It may not be easy to get an experienced alchemist to turn someone into a spectre, but that task isn't as daunting as reverting every spectre back into an ordinary person. That star has long fallen out of sight, as the old proverb goes. Brighton made his choice, I say, and you choose to help him, which makes me want to send you flying through the wall. But I also know Brighton. Even if you didn't help him, he would have shown up. If anything, you kept him alive. Prudentia stares straight ahead at the opposite wall, which has a calming poster of celestials running on water. I can't imagine it's having any positive effect on her right now. What was his reasoning for drinking the Reaper's blood? She asks. When Brighton first presented his plan, I could see through what some people, even Prudentia, probably mistake as charm. He said he had to be the one to drink it. Said it would be too risky for me since we don't know enough about the blood type of someone who inherited both celestial and spectre properties. Oh yeah, like he didn't have his own risks, like how his own father didn't survive having Hydra essence in him, or how Luna prepared this elixir with blood from her parents' ghost, or how it was all untested and he knew all of this, but he did it anyway. She's hyperventilating, and it reminds me of the many days following the deaths of my parents, when I would cry and scream so hard that Atlas and Iris and the others couldn't even understand what I was trying to say. He's going to die, Prudencia says. Maybe. Lean crafters are not promised the luxury of time. You should have understood that already from losing your parents. She stands. What are you talking about? I never kept secrets from Atlas. You had your reasons for not telling Brighton you're Celestial. I get it. But how do you think he felt when you trusted Iris, an absolute stranger, with your big secret before you trusted him? I never wanted to be exploited by him. Look at the way he was using Emil to boost his own status and fame. And Brighton and I are different than you and Atlas. I was open with the person I love and you weren't. Prudencia rolls her eyes. You don't know me. You went on missions involving dangerous people knowing that you may even have to expose your telekinesis to keep Brighton alive. And keep Emil, and keep Emil alive. She's shaking. This anger would be useful against the Bloodcasters if she ever wanted to get serious. Can you honestly say that you would have gone on all these missions where you knew that Emil was being protected by spellwalkers if Brighton wasn't there? Prudencia takes a deep breath. There are words on the tip of her tongue, but she keeps them to herself and walks away. Hiding from her truth seems to be her signature. If Wesley hadn't pulled me away from June, I would invite him to go with me to pick up Atlas's car. But I'm pissed, so I head down the stairs to avoid him and Iris, and once I'm outside, I jump into the air and glide through the shadows of the night with the wind in my ears. Kann sie nicht vom Dach springen? Okay. Um, It doesn't take too long to arrive at the church. I'm careful because there's still one enforcer tank parked out front with an ambulance truck and police cars nearby. The body bags with dead acolytes should be brought out soon enough. Police officers are taking statements and I wonder if the eyewitnesses are exaggerating details about what happened like so many have in the past. I unlock Atlas's car, but before I make my way back to Aldebaran for updates on Brighton, I open the storage compartment and pull out the wine bottle that's holding Atlas's ashes. I cremated him myself with the power that manifested after his death. I die before I let a poet get their hands on that story. I'm not an expert on ghosts. That's not an enemy force we've crossed swords with before, and I grew up knowing just the obvious details, like how ghosts can only appear under night skies, and how they only wander the world if they were violently murdered. But I learned something valuable because of Luna's ritual. An alchemist proficient in necromancy can summon a wandering ghost. They just need something of the person from when they were alive and the presence of the person who killed them. It doesn't seem cosmically fair to the ghost, but if there's one bright side to June's possessing me when she shot Atlas in the heart with a spell, it's that I should count as his killer too. But first, I kill June and avenge him. I press Atlas's ashes against my heart, daydreaming of the night when I get to summon his ghost and peacefully send him off into the stars.
Also ich muss ja sagen, ich glaube Maribel ist mein least favorite Character.
Ja, ist ein bisschen annoying. Like, okay,
Ja.
jetzt das Ende war ein bisschen so, ja.
Ja, war ganz okay. Aber like, you know, Brighton ist so noch so comically evil irgendwie. I don't know, like, der ist halt einfach ein Arschloch und like,
Ja,
ich wollte gerade sagen, er weiß es. Er weiß es nicht wirklich, aber like, jeder weiß
ja,
es. Und like,
jeder
Maribel
weiß.
ist einfach nur neu und gemein.
Ja,
Zu Leuten, die ihr nichts getan haben, denen sie
ja,
eigentlich danken sollte.
ja, das sowieso. Aber naja, ist ja hier eine komische Welt eh, ne?
Ja.
Okay, wie viel haben wir schon? War 17 Minuten. Chapter 4. A Nightmare. Emil. My brother is a nightmare. The streets are crowded with enforcers casting spells into the night as their tanks blaze in gold fire. Brighton has flown higher than every building around him, and he freezes in the air, admiring his chaos. He has 3 heads with eyes as dark as black holes, and streams of phoenix fire are flowing from the palms of his 6 hands. I fly into the air to tackle him, to get him to stop, but he's untouchable. I go through him like he's made of air. I float in front of his face, begging him to stop, and there's nothing but cruel laughter echoing from all 3 of his heads. The city is his to destroy. Finally, when I am brave enough to stop my brother and conjure fire of my own, Brighton unleashes an inferno toward me and I snap awake, groaning and panting. My brother was a nightmare. That's all. It was all a nightmare. Brighton wouldn't ever go dark like that. It's all in my head. Mhm. I remember pieces of conversations of an argument between Brighton and Prudencia, but neither of them are with me now. I'm alone in a room with bright white walls and lights that hurt my eyes, so I shift to the see-through ceiling and stare out into the night sky. I don't know what time it is or even what day it is, but I don't see the crowned dreamer or its glow stretched across the darkness, not even a single star in sight. This constellation is rare and won't return to the sky until I am an old man, assuming I get to live that long. Maybe my next life will see it, or the one after that, or however many lives I get to have before someone gets me good with an infinity ender. This bed I'm in is too firm and I'm hot, so I remove the sheet and realize I'm shirtless. There's dry blood around my stomach from where Luna stabbed me. The wound is closed, but it looks odd, like discolored, stretched out skin. Someone's healed me, but I don't think it was Eva. Eva's power heals all open wounds in ways that you have to look twice to tell that work was even done in the first place. She also absorbs all the pain, and I still feel the dull pounding and sharp twings. Twinges? I don't know.
Twinges?
Twinges? Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful that someone kept me alive. I'm just appreciating how good we have it with a powerful healer like Eva on our side. Surrounding the gash are the scars from when Ness sliced me to trick Luna and the Bloodcasters into believing he was still loyal to their gang. I don't think these will ever fully heal, but Ness did this to save my life, and even when he finally had a chance to run away into anonymity, he returned to Nova when we were under attack to save me again. Then he got taken captive by enforcers, and I doubt he escaped. He's probably dead somewhere, even though I'm not worth dying for. There's a gentle knock at the door. I look up to see a short practitioner with freckles dotting her face and curly red hair flowing over the shoulders of her midnight blue cloak. Her electric green eyes widen when she sees me staring back at her. Emil Ray, she says, with a hint of motherly pride. I'm Dr. Bowes. It's an honor to have been part of the team that that worked on you. Her cheeks are flushed and she's shaking her head as if she wants to leave the room and come back in to restart this entire interaction. Hi, thanks. These first words aren't much, but they are rough against my throat. Relax, Dr. Bowes says as she hands me a cup of water and a drink from the metal straw. Alter, moderne Zukunft, ey. Metal straw. She asks me a series of questions, and I answer everything in as few words as possible. I rate the paint 7 out of 10. I'd like the lights dimmed. I'm starving and vegan, and I'm exhausted. She dims the lights and puts in a request for someone to prepare a meal for me. I bring the blanket over my chest again. The last time my scrawny body was exposed was when Ness was watching the cuts he inflicted on me, and
Washing.
he did all. Washing, sorry. Uh, when Ness was washing the cuts he inflicted on me. And he did all of that with his eyes closed because he knows I'm struggling with how I look, even with everything else I got going on. I can tell Dr. Bao senses my discomfort because she helps me into some patient wear, mustard yellow with black stars. What? Okay. And that's one last thing on my mind. Emil, the authorities are going to need a report on what happened tonight, Dr. Bao says as she pulls up a chair. The bloodcasters, I say. She nods. Iris mentioned this while we were treating her too. I understand she's been in touch with your mother and has advised her to keep her distance for the time being. Makes sense, but I know that can't be easy on Ma. I have to thank you for your service to this country, Emil. It takes a brave soul to fight this fight, and I think I have it in me, even with your powers. I grew up watching Bautista and his spellwalkers charge into combat. That was back when they were welcomed heroes, celebrities too, of course. Dr. Bao smiled wistfully before pressing her hand against her heart. I cried for weeks after he died, and it was years before I took down his posters. The way she looks at me makes me question whether she knows that Bautista is my past life, but that's impossible. The public doesn't know that reincarnation is real, since even specters with phoenix blood, like me, aren't resurrected as the same person. The way she's going on about Bautista so admirably makes me think she'd be chill if I let her in on the secret, but it's my original life as Keon Maxima, the alchemist who turned himself into the first spectre that I want to keep close to the chest. The only person I told who isn't directly involved in this war between the Spellwalkers and the Bloodcasters is my former boss at the museum, Kirk Bennett. Then he betrayed me for his own research and fame. I played it cool about Bautista. He was a hero. As are you. My son is so proud of me for helping a spellwalker. You probably hear this a lot, but he's your biggest fan. Dann sag einfach, he's a fan. We've been working on his costume for Halloween. He's going as you. Wow. Was kann man da
Cute.
denn machen? Ist ja nicht so, als hätte er jetzt irgend so ein Kostüm oder so.
Ja, aber er kann ja so Phönixflügel oder so sich basteln. Und so Feier aus so durchsichtigem Papier.
Da könnte er einfach zu einem Spectre werden, easy.
Easy.
The blood that didn't spill out of me back in the garden rushes straight to my face. There were a couple years where Brighton and I dressed up as the Spellwalkers for Halloween. He had to be a Bautista, of course, because of that alpha big brother born in him, and I chose to be Lester Lucera because I thought he was cute. I can't even lie.
Oh.
Wow. But look at us now. Brighton's fantasies got the best of him tonight, and he drank Reaper's blood so he could fit in with the Spellwalkers. I'm Bautista's real life Sion. These lives were never costumes, but Dr. Bao's son is going to dress up as me, even though I might be dead before Halloween. And what then? Will her son mourn me the same way she grieved Bautista? He doesn't know me, and she didn't know him. The cycle of worship and grief needs to come needs to come to an end. I offer a quick thanks. That's the best I got. That's my brother. I might have to deck him if he's out in the hallway bragging into some camera about this Reaper's blood business. For a moment, Dr. Bowles looks as if someone has come around the corner and surprised her. She composes herself and says, "Don't be alarmed. Too late, what's wrong?" "I understand Brighton drank a potion tonight," Dr. Bowles says. Traffic increases in on all our facilities during the appearance of every prime constellation as people pursue Spectre conversion. Believe me, we are already bracing ourselves for the cloaked phantom next week. And my alchemy courses while pursuing my PhD couldn't have prepared me for this new dangerous trend of people experimenting with multiple essences. The results have been disastrous. There have been so many reports of people combusting, others eaten alive from within, limbs falling off. I absolutely didn't need her to paint this picture of Brighton's legs and arms falling off like rotted teeth out of a mouth, while he screams and dies in a fiery blaze, but there's no shaking it out of my head. It's very tricky, she says, but I assure you my team and I are doing our best to stabilize him. You can't guarantee that. I'm shaking. It's like all the promises the doctors and alchemists fed us about saving Dad. The Alexia was created by Luna Marinette herself. It's next level. She's responsible for the bloodcasters and all these other hybrid specters. She was going to use this potion to live forever. Immortality is impossible, Dr. Bauer says. I bet you think stealing blood from ghosts is impossible too, but here we are. Dr. Bowles is stone-faced as she absorbs all of this. You're all fighting a battle beyond our comprehension, aren't you? I don't answer her. Can I please see Brighton? She helps me out of bed and I'm dizzy. I settle into the wheelchair she's insisting I use. Good call. She guides me to another room, 4 doors down. Inside, Brighton is in bed with his eyes closed, but this isn't some peaceful sleep. He's the palest I've ever seen him. There are IVs injected into his arms, delivering clear, light blue and dark red fluids into his veins. There's a ventilator helping him breathe, and it's nicer than the one we had at home for Dad. I know that I should feel relieved, but Hä?
Hm?
Hast du was gesagt?
Ich habe umgeblättert.
Ach so, das ist so. so. Okay. I know that I should feel relieved, but it's actually freaking me out that Brighton's condition must be so severe that he needs the best equipment available. I get out of the wheelchair, holding his hand and fighting back tears. He's stable at the moment, Dr. Bao says. Our dad died from blood poisoning. I'm away. I'm aware, uh, I'm aware, Dr. Bao says. How much do strangers know about me? I feel uncomfortable, like cameras are following me everywhere I go. The Hydra essence turned on him. The Hydra essence turned on him, I say. Wanted to kill Brighton too? We're working to purify the blood before an injection can spread, but considering there are the 3 foreign essences working against his system, the chances of Brighton's body failing are higher than most. But you all came to the right place. I've treated many specters as aspirants before. You won't believe how many people try to get powers without hiring an alchemist. It's like when my husband tattooed himself as a teenager to save a bug. It didn't turn out well. Dr. Bowes looks sheepish as she realizes that she's gone and made this about herself. I promise I will do everything I can to make sure your brother goes home with you. She's too confident. If Ma were here right now, she would go off on Dr. Bowes for not giving it to us straight. I hope Brighton lives, even if it means relieving all the heartache we went through watching Dad in pain. How much time do you think he has? It's too early to tell, but I would prepare for a few months if we can successfully purify his blood. Months, and that's if we are extremely lucky. What if we could cancel out the essences? Do you think that will stop his sickness? It's a popular theory, but no one has ever been able to eradicate a specter's powers. Once a creature blood is fused into a person, those abilities become as permanent as the Celestials. Enforcers have means to temporarily dampen powers, of course, but even that takes considerable resources. I'm afraid that there is no known cure for specters presently. Brighton always says that something being unlikely doesn't make it impossible. I hope I get to hear him say it again. I squeeze his hand. There are no stars in the sky right now to pray to, but the moment they are back, I'm counting on each and every one of them to guide him back to health. Dr. Bowes, can you make sure your son won't say anything about us being here? I want Brighton to get as much assistance from you and your team as possible. I'm happy to, I don't know, autograph something for your son if you can count on some privacy. Dr. Bowes shakes her head. That's not necessary, but if you don't mind, I'm sure it'd make his day. He dreams of becoming a spellwalker when he grows up. There should be a concern in her voice, not pride. I don't know what powers Dr. Bowes or her son have, but I hope he grows out of his spellwalker's hype before he finds himself in a battle that can kill him. Everything can change so quickly. Check out Brighton.
Check out Brighton. He's like
Check out
almost dead. Yo.
One moment he was saving my life, and in the next he was doing the unthinkable because staying on the sidelines wasn't enough. Nightmares may be terrifying, but dreams are dangerous.
Voll deep.
Ja.
Fast so deep wie so ein ganz großes Haus sein kann. 5. Iron Manor. Ness.
Was für ein Haus.
Ein ganz großes Haus.
Ist es tief, so nach hinten, oder was?
Ja, da kann man voll deep reingehen.
Oder hättest du lieber gesagt, wie so ein Labyrinth oder so. Oder?
Nur woher kommt das denn? Das heißt halt Manor. Das nächste Kapitel.
Ach so, das meinst du.
Ja.
Hab ich nicht verwundert.
Okay. It's been a while since I've been in a town car. Luna wasn't comfortable with the bloodcasters traveling in packs unless we were protecting her or there was a very urgent reason. That way, if one of us got caught, the others could complete the mission. Stanton travels through sewers, Dion leaps from rooftop to rooftop, June teleports short distances, usually only appearing long enough for someone to wonder if they're seeing things, and I always blended in on public transportation, an experience I was denied growing up because my fame was growing in political circles.
Wow, experienced voll das Highlife gerade.
Ja.
Alter. Öffentliche Verkehrsmittel.
Wow. But the senator keeps his team together. Jax is driving and Xenon is vision hopping through the eyes of other drivers to determine the safest path, as well as to make sure we're not being followed. The partition is down as the senator and bishop discuss the news that's just come in about a brawl between the spellwalkers and bloodcasters at a church. Which church? The senator asks Bishop, who's reading the update of his tablet. The Alpha Church of New Life. I say the Alpha Church of New Life. I say with a smirk, even though I know this isn't good news. Bishop confirms with a nod. What do you know? The senator asks. That while you were busy with me, Luna was becoming the most powerful person on this planet, I say. The senator taps the panel between us, a sign that he's nervous even though his expression won't betray him. These are the details I pay attention to when I have to impersonate someone. I'm already plotting on when I can pose as him to stage my escape. Any casualties? He asks. A dead Hydra and a few idiot acolytes, Bishop says. No mention of the Phoenix or Emil. Maybe they did get away. Luna has always sworn that the key to success was merging the three essences, but maybe she's taking her chances on just the blood from the ghosts and Hydra. It would still be tricky, but she'll definitely be killable if we ever cross paths again. Very well, the senator says to Bishop. You'll make a statement in the morning while I meet with some donors. Business as usual, as if the son who is supposed to be dead because of a plan he engineered isn't going to be alive and well in his home. I wonder if he'll lock me up in the manor's panic room. We're driving through my old neighborhood, Whitestone, which sits at the top of Queens and and it's even more painfully residential than I remember. I've seen so much life and color since working the field as a bloodcaster that the sight of these houses makes me feel like my life is reversing. I've gotten used to seeing kids out so late that they're either ignoring their curfew or their parents don't care. I've passed teens in parks where they are huddled together, staring a joint as if the smell won't stick to their clothes. By the time I was old enough to test any sort of freedom like that, my mother had already been killed and the senator's career was rising, so he insisted on my protection. Maybe this entire time he was always keeping me alive so he could one day martyrize me. I feel sick as I see the familiar laurel hedges that hide the estate. The gate opens and we drive around the small fountain of my grandfather Burgundy Iron. Burgundy Iron. Das ist ein interessanter Name. Who turned his fear of celestials into fortunes when he invented the first power-proof vests and manufactured them for the government. The manor is da passt irgendwie der Name Iron sehr gut zu diesem Theme von wegen Protection und Armor und so. The manor is 3 stories high and grayer than Grandpa's fountain. I truly hate it here. Where am I staying? I ask as I push open the front door. Your room, of course, the senator says. Not much has changed as I enter my old home. Same rug over the cork-colored hardwood floor, same living room reserved for friends of the senator, but never my own. Same sunroom where Mom used to eat pitahaya while reading some non-fiction book. Nicht relatable. Ich lese gerade ein Fiction-Book. Oder... Or is it? Okay. Same.
Also, eine Silvera holt das einfach aus einem anderen Universum.
Ja. Das ist eigentlich übel der Wissenschaftler.
Ja.
Same dining area that started feeling more like a boardroom given how often the senator was having his campaign staff over. Same creak on the 7th step on the of the stairs, same portraits of outspoken political figures lining the hallway as I pass the senator's office and open the door to my bedroom. Most of the room has stayed the same. All the walls are white except for one that I had wallpapered with black diamonds. The green curtains are open and I can see that the crowned dreamer has vanished from the sky. My colorful candles line the built-in bookcase that's stacked with biographies of politicians who rewrote history to fool me and millions of others into thinking that all celestials are dangerous. I stop in front of my desk and stare at the pictures that don't belong. Back in mid-February, 1 month after the world thought I died, I came across this article about grieving parents who had lost children of their own. This one mother spiraled because she was already pregnant with another child and she no longer trusted herself to keep them alive. These young parents raised funds so fewer children would have to die from the types of cancer that claimed theirs. The one that gripped me the most was the father who refused to remove a single sock or toy or juice cup from his daughter's room to preserve her memory. I'd wondered if the senator would leave my room untouched, but he didn't. Was ich vorhin komplett überhaupt nicht dazu passend, aber schon ein bisschen wegen des Raumes, der nicht verändert wurde. Like, ich habe vorhin so ein Video angefangen mit so True Crime und so und dann, like, die waren so, das war halt ein Cold Case, die haben nichts weiter rausgefunden und so über ein Jahr später haben die dann wieder so Evidence gefunden und dann sind die nochmal in das Apartment von der gegangen und ich dachte mir so, lol, wird das nicht irgendwann einfach, I don't know, ausgeräumt und wieder neu vermietet oder so, like.
Ja.
Interesting, dachte ich mir, dass es einfach so gelassen wurde. So wie es halt ist.
Vielleicht haben die es nicht vermietet bekommen oder wie so.
No, aber like, es wurde ja nie ausgeräumt. Like, die Möbel und so, die waren ja auch noch alle da. Like, um es neu zu vermieten oder so, muss es ja erstmal frisch machen wieder.
Ja, oder irgendwie der Vermieter irgendwie, ne, hat irgendwie eine Verbindung gehabt oder so und war so, ja, nee, ich will das behalten, so.
Die Nachbarn waren so, ja, wir fühlen uns richtig wohl mit diesem Apartment neben uns, wo diese Frau verschwunden ist und das jetzt einfach leer steht, genauso wie es halt aufgefunden wurde, als sie weg war. Ich dachte mir auch so, lol, hätten die das ausgeräumt, hätten die ganzen Evidence-Sachen, die sie da gefunden haben, jetzt beim zweiten Mal, so nach über einem Jahr, viel früher ja schon gefunden. Wow. I mean, vielleicht war die Familie so, ja, lass das so, vielleicht finden wir sie ja noch. Dann zieht sie da einfach wieder ein. Alles ist normal.
Also normal, sie zahlt weiter, easy.
Sometime in April, the senator did a walkthrough of my bedroom for Wolf News. He had planted all these framed pictures of us together. The night he was elected senator, our fancy sailing trip through the Caribbean Sea while visiting the Dominican Republic. A trip that was planned for Mom to spend time with her distant relatives, and day one of 8th grade, which I should have realized was a publicity stunt since it was the first time Mom wasn't around to take me to school. The senator lingered the longest around the picture of us waving together in our tailored suits on the steps of a courthouse in the Bronx moments after he announced that he was running for president. Eduardo is the reason I believe I can lead our great nation, the senator had said to the reporter, especially after losing Esmeralda. Hat richtig fancy Name. Then he took this ridiculous long silence that editors deemed worthy of keeping in the final cut. I slid the picture off my desk and directly into my empty trash can, hating how I probably got my actor bones from the senator. Ja, gut. Thinking about acting reminds me of the picture I actually have been missing since I've been gone. Since I've been gone. Nee, so geht das nicht. I scan around for it since it's no longer on my bedside table, but it's not in here. The picture was of me and Mom on opening night of my first school play. I was dressed as the grandson of this dragon tamer, and Mom was kissing the top of my head. The senator wasn't around because of some last-minute fundraiser. I was upset back then because he didn't show up, but I'm pissed now because he completely removed a great physical memory of that night. I head for the door right as the senator and Jax come down the hallway. Jax shoves me back into the room and I almost fall. Control your lackey? I say. Jax doesn't need control. He cooperates, the senator says. You need to follow his lead. You need to give me back my picture of me and Mom. The senator stops to consider this and then chuckles. The one of you from some play. I wasn't in it, so we had it trashed. You had no right. Dead men have no possessions, and you were supposed to be one. If you wanted that picture so badly, you could have come back to live for that occasion. The senator claps. Well then, I have private matters to discuss with Bishop and must select others about your return. If you need anything from the kitchens, Jax will have it sent up for you. and he'll escort you to the bathroom as needed. For my protection, I say mockingly. For my protection, I say mockingly. For my campaign's protection, the senator says. Welcome home, Eduardo. Have a good night. Jax telekinetically closes the door in my face. In all my nightmares of the senator discovering I'm alive, I never thought I would return here. Dead within the day always seemed more likely. There's still time for that if I don't cooperate. I sit on my bed, exhausted. I'd forgotten how comfortable it was. I've come a long way from sleeping on stiff mattresses, couches, subway benches, and even the floor of that supplies closet when I manipulated Emil and the spellwalkers into taking me hostage. This would all feel a little easier if Emil were here with me. If we could talk about our own lives instead of how to save everyone else's. But my life here won't be easy. He's going to keep me disconnected. There's never been a TV in my room, and the senator certainly won't give me one now, so he can continue controlling the narrative. Still, there's no narrative he can control. He'll never fool me again into thinking this luxurious house isn't a prison. Except with traditional jails, the prisoners are expected to keep their heads low and behave while they serve their time. Here at home, the senator is going to corrupt me further.
Oha.
Aber es geht ja noch.
Ja. Ich mag den Titel. Das klingt so eine Bright, aber sterben.
6. Like father, like son. Brighton. I wake up with a tube down my throat and wires in my arms, and I freak out. Emil calls for help and nurses rush in, instructing me to relax and let their machines help me breathe a little longer. But Emil crying makes me want to panic even more, so I stare out the window instead. The blackness of the sky has been replaced with bright oranges and pinks and blues. The sun is rising. Has it been a few hours since I fainted? I'm guessing so, since Ma would be by my side too if it had been any longer than that. When I'm calming down, I can't help but think about this one time when Dad woke up in his hospital room alone. He was so scared, which felt backward. Children aren't the ones who are supposed to tuck their parents back into bed after they've had a nightmare, or check their closets to make sure basilisks are nesting in there. Dad explained that his fear was about dying alone, and that struck all of us. Since that moment, we always made sure someone was there when Dad woke up, even if that meant we missed class, work, birthdays, Emil's tutoring sessions, and my extracurricular clubs. I lucked out having Emil here to keep me company, even luckier that he's alive, but I'm definitely logging away that Prudencia isn't here. An hour later, a nurse returns to stop the intubation. My throat feels dry and swollen when he removes the tube, but I'm able to breathe okay. A practitioner, Dr. Baus, checks my temperature, tests my senses, and assesses my energy levels. Alter, wie viele Energy-Punkte hat er?
Welches Level ist er?
Next level. I'm burning up, and Emil presses a cold towel against my forehead. I used to be on the outside looking in whenever I watched Dad try and stay strong as nurses poked and prodded him. But the grass isn't greener on the other side with Emil watching me suffer. I'm getting hotter and hotter. This happened to Emil when his powers first appeared. That could be a good thing, except for the fact that it was also what happened to Dad on and off before he died. Emil helps me remove my shirt, but it's not making enough of a difference. The question I'm building up the nerve to ask is making me nauseous and so nervous that I'm shaking. I'm dying, right? Dr. Baus' solemn expression says it all. It appears your body is rejecting the elixir you consumed. We believed you may have a few more months ahead of you. I don't get it. I glowed after drinking the Reaper's blood. That has to mean something. Nom 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 nom. But the elixir was mixed and consumed when the Crown Dreamer was at its zenith. I don't know. Blood alchemy for specters has been around for decades, but there are no surefire methods, she says. Even with all of Luna's calculations, the elixir could have turned on her too. If I spared her from everything I'm going through, I hope she suffered from my spell before dying. There are worse legacies I could have. Well, dying is auch relative. Okay. We're preparing some more tests to run, and afterward we can explore some alternative practices to cleanse your blood, Dr. Baus says. Do you need anything else for the time being, Brighton? I need a minute. Dr. Baus says something before leaving, but I don't hear her because I'm too busy sorting through my own thoughts about how the elixir backfired. Emil and I are quiet when we're alone. He gets me iced chips to chew on, and he's making me feel guilty with how sad he looks. So I focus on the sky some more. I wonder how many more skies I'll get to see before I die. If I get to see Ma, talk things out with Prudencia. If Emil and I... did you mean what you said back at the church? Emil asks, ending the silence. I said a lot of things back there, but I realize he's asking me about what I said before I drank the Reaper's blood. How I would rather die like that than live powerless. Just get your "I told you so" out of the way, I say. Not happening. Everyone ignores their big brother. Emil says, "I'm older. I'm older. I was born first. Though I was born first, we don't actually I was born first. We don't actually know. I've got 2 extra lifetimes on you. I win. Ha, true." Emil ist like 150. Okay, nein, nicht 150, das ist ein bisschen viel. Ist so, I don't know, 90 vielleicht. Even though he's forcing this humor, this is the smoothest conversation we've had in weeks. Everything else has been this battle about how best to approach our positions in this war. Strangely enough, the last time I felt this easy talking to Emil was after we found out he was adopted. We had talked about how we were always going to be brothers, no matter what. Remember my bully in 7th grade? I ask. The one who hated my early YouTube videos. First time I ever hit someone who wasn't you, Emil says. We got into a number of fights with each other growing up, and it was always over something stupid. One time, he was practicing his drawing, so he traced a superhero over one of my comic books and left pen marks all over the page. And another time, I kept hogging the TV to play an RPG where you get to build your own Celestial. But those fights were different from the ones we got into with other people at school or on our blog. Watching Emil deck that other kid was something I wish I'd gotten on camera so I could play it on repeat. It was incredible, I say, until he hit me back and punched you too. Hey, we got jumped together, even back then. Simpler times, Emil says. Truly, it's not that I would trade this gang for war for schoolyard smackdowns. I just wish this all turned out differently. That Emil and I could have been the powerful rays of light like we dreamed about when we were younger. I mean, falls du überlebst, streng dich an. Habt ihr immer noch die Chance dazu, okay?
Ja.
Glaub an dich oder so. Und dann sei nett.
Leb deinen Traum.
Leb deinen Traum. I wish I wasn't your brother, Emil says. Somehow that hits harder than finding out I'm dying. No, that came off wrong, Emil says, red in the face. Sorry, I wish you were an only child. I love being your brother, Bright, But our brotherhood is what got you involved in this war in the first place. If Dad hadn't found me on that street corner, you would be safe at home or covering all this action for your Celestials of New York. You wouldn't be what, dying? No, but I wouldn't be happy either. I know,
Aber,
but
like, er ist ja immer zu diesen Kämpfen gerannt, aber ich weiß nicht, ob er sicher wäre.
ja, gut,
Ich glaube, Emil hat ihn ein bisschen zurückgehalten. So.
das ist auch wahr. Aber ich meine, vielleicht hat er, also like, wenn eine ganze Person aus deinem Leben gestrichen wird, ich glaube, vielleicht wäre der ja auch auf Irons Seite oder so. Und like,
Ja,
vielleicht wäre
vielleicht
der
hat
ein
er keinen
ganz
Bock
anderer
gehabt
Mensch.
dann auf Celeste, aber
Ja.
irgendwo.
I know, but you never got caught up in any of this until you were living in my shadow. You wouldn't have felt so competitive or incomplete. I'm just saying, I wish another family found me. No, what you're saying is you wish I wasn't involved. Guess what, Infinity Son? Alter, he said the thing. I'm the one
Nee, also
who stopped Luna, not you. If I
letztes
hadn't,
Mal vielleicht.
yeah. If I hadn't been there, you would be dead and Luna would be immortal. How is that good for anyone? For the world. Emil hops out of his seat and kicks it over. I don't care about the world, I care about you. This This is why I'm the one who should have powers. Oh mein Gott, machst alles kaputt. Das war so nett von Emil.
Ja.
I could prove that not all specters are bad, that we can trust ordinary people with powers, that we can all be more like Bautista, we be more like you. Oh, okay, das war ein bisschen netter. It pains me to use Emil as a shining example, but it's true. Power didn't corrupt him, and corruption seems to be the popular narrative about about any specter. This country is doing itself a gigantic disservice by assuming everyone will abuse their abilities. Right now, enforcers are the only authorized special ops unit tasked with taking down Gleamcrafters. Some Celestials have been hired as enforcers, sure, but the majority are humans who are fighting back with wands, gem grenades, and other weapons boosted by Gleamcraft. But what if we trusted more people with powers? What if we could use creature blood to strengthen soldiers in the military, police officers, bodyguards, and protectors of all kinds? We can't assume that everything will go wrong just because a select few might abuse that privilege.
Ich denke mir auch gerade, Teil. Gleamcraft. Klingt wie ein Mod für Minecraft.
Ja, ist halt echt so. Schreib's auf die Ideenliste. Wir machen den.
Absolut gar nicht.
Ich finde, glaube ich, das ist wieder so ein schöner Vergleich zwischen Emil und Brighton. Während Brighton denkt, so alle sollten einfach Powers haben, dann wäre alles gut, denkt ja Emil, keiner sollte Powers haben, dann wäre alles gut. Und ich muss sagen, Brighton ist dumm. Du kannst doch nicht einfach sagen, heutzutage benutzen Polizisten ihre, Position schon aus für schlechte Sachen und Politiker und weiß ich für Leute. Dann kannst du ja nicht sagen, wir geben dir jetzt noch so Special Powers. Und ja, natürlich sind das nicht alle. Aber wenn wir jetzt mal so an America denken oder so, wo das ja spielt, müssten die eine ganz andere Ansicht auch haben. Und da sind ja, glaube ich, die alle schon ein bisschen corrupter. Aber naja, okay. For the 100th time, Emil says, shaking. I don't want these powers. They are not the solution to my problems. Maybe you would feel differently if you saw Dad die. Dad shuts him up. We're both breathing heavily. We're breathing heavily. My cheeks are wet with tears and sweat. My fist is shaking so hard I could probably punch a wall and not feel anything. I always hoped Dad would pass peacefully in his sleep with all of us surrounding him. I wasn't ready to be alone with him when it all happened so violently. 1 minute, he was telling me why he no longer loved his favorite book, and the next, he was gripping it so hard that he tore the cover. I kneeled before him, and he grabbed my hand, and his eyes went wide, and Brighton, stop. Just stop. He spat blood all over me, and he was crying, and it smelled, and I begged him to hold it together, and then his hand went limp. His head bumped into mine so hard, and my reflexes shoved him back, and his eyes stared back at me and never blinked again. I screamed for him to wake up, even though I knew he was gone. I'm panting. This is the first time I've gotten this off my chest. It's the kind of relief that reminds me of taking off my backpack, which was always loaded with textbooks. There are still so many more details when I play Dad's death back in my head, but Emil doesn't need any more. He's already crying hard, like it's Dad's funeral all over again. I don't want to die with you thinking this only happened because of my because I'm power hungry. I say I say as he stares me down like I've committed the most unforgivable act. I drank the Reaper's blood because I thought those powers would protect me in this terrifying world where one day you're healthy and the next day you're dying. My throat is strained and my voice lowers to a whisper. Whenever I die, I hope you're not around. You'll be scared so badly you remember it in every lifetime.
Und damit verabschieden wir uns wieder für heute.
Yes.
Ich hoffe, es war für euch interessant und toll.
Mhm.
Dann hören wir uns beim nächsten Mal mit Kapitel 7, The Journal.
Yes.
Und dann heißt es wieder beim nächsten Mal.
Oh mein Gott, The Journal. Ich erinnere mich, glaube ich. Warte, ist es das? I don't know. Okay, es wird, glaube ich, spannend. Vielleicht.
Werden wir rausfinden nächste Woche, wenn es wieder heißt Super Segoke Buchclub. Wir lesen Infinity Reaper von Adam Silvera.
Tschüss.
Ciao.